So next up is Gina Paradis, who is the Executive Director of the Chautauqua County Land Bank. And Gina is going to talk today a little bit about working across a rural region, as well as working with the city of Jamestown to address demolition. But a key thing that she's known for is really thinking strategically about the redevelopment process.
Good afternoon. I'm going to try to channel Wade here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Land Bank. I know I have some of my colleagues here from the New York State Land Bank Association, and we'll welcome questions after. I'm going to try to focus my presentation a little bit on demo, but we'll blow through some of the issues. They're pretty common among all of our communities, especially in upstate and the rural counties, but the decades of declining population. In our county, we're expecting another 10% loss by the next census. High poverty rates, which are upwards of 30% in our two cities in the county. High incidence of tax foreclosures and mortgage foreclosures, contributing to the high occupancy or high vacancy rates, sorry. And again, like many of our communities, very old housing stock. 43% of our housing stock is pre-1940s. It's really developed into just a glut of unsafe and vacant structures. And then couple that with the lack of resources in our rural communities, which is also, it's not only funding, but it's a lack of capacity too. It's a lack of human resources and a lack of the skills, knowledge base, and technology. So we've taken a two-pronged approach with our land bank. One is to fight blight and do remediation and neighborhood stabilization. The other is to just tackle the cost to cure challenges that a lot of our rural municipalities face. On the blight remediation side, we developed the land bank using some money that was set aside early on from tobacco settlements that the county decided to put into a fund for some sort of housing task force. They didn't really have an application for that funding when our county heard that New York State might be writing some land bank legislation. We decided to put that money into use to engage the Center for Community Progress to help us write a business plan in our application, prepare our application. So we were one of the first 5 land banks that were funded in New York State. We also put some money into neighborhood and housing studies in both the cities of Jamestown and Dunkirk, which really helped us to identify those areas of investment we needed to make and really get us a good conditions report on the state of housing in both of those cities. And then just took a real strategic focus on blight, using kind of a 3-program approach to it with the land bank. So we focus on rehab, demolition, and the vacant lots. Primarily for this discussion, I'm going to focus on demolition. It's not really the sexiest part of our program, but it really is a necessary and integral part of the overall redevelopment of our neighborhoods and stabilization of our neighborhoods. So the cost to cure challenges really have focused on leveraging our funding resources. Our county first created the shared services agreements countywide, which is, one more step towards taking a more regional approach to the challenges that the local municipalities face. They also developed a tipping fee credit. Our landfill is owned by the county. Cost of demolition and debris disposal is very high. So they created a tipping fee credit program for anyone who participates in the shared services agreements. They can apply for tipping fee credits. Small municipalities get about 80 credits per year, and that's about the average tonnage of one home. The cities get more credits. But the beauty in the program is that anyone who's in that shared services program, if you need more credits than you have for a particular demo program, you can trade off with other municipalities and borrow their credits. They keep the credits on a 3-year basis. You get 80 ton a year, and then you can hold that over for 3 years and, increase your total. But if you need to trade and borrow, you can do that and then pay it back when you don't have an emergency demo. So that's really worked wonderful. We're also able to leverage funding. We have 2 cities in the county, Dunkirk and Jamestown. They're both, I can't come up with the word, entitlement communities, thank you. I'm channeling Jill now. And so we're able to leverage their CDBG funds that they set aside that money for demolition, and we're able to actually almost triple what we're able to accomplish with the funding that we get through the land bank. And one other very important point of leverage is that the land bank found that with our rural municipalities, they weren't taking advantage of the demolition program that we had as much as we anticipated. And when we drilled down into the issue, it was basically because they lacked the capacity to really understand how to do demos and how to go through the process, and they didn't have the manpower to do that. So we developed a project management opportunity so that the land bank will actually manage the demolition program for all the rural municipalities. So just to give you a quick outlook on our outcomes, you'll see the statistics there for our residential and mixed-use commercial demos, which we're really just starting to get into now. We really started out the program focusing on residential, but the residential demolitions have really helped us kind of right-size the market with the population decline and the number of unsafe structures. Getting rid of those really unsightly structures has really helped us to right-size the market and eliminate a lot of those public safety hazards and that drain on public resources that we were seeing, especially in the urban areas, if you can call Chautauqua County urban, and improving the property values in those areas. And I'm just going to pass through and talk about a couple of our success stories real quickly. Our Falconer arson, this is one example of some really great collaboration. The arson put about 29 people out of a place to live. There were 15 occupied apartments, 5 businesses destroyed. It was an out-of-state landlord with no property insurance. He bought the buildings at the tax foreclosure auction, never insured them. The village of Falconer, which actually, if you look at the end of that block, you'll see the town hall right there. And they wanted to do some redevelopment. They couldn't get the developer and the landowner who had no insurance to pay for the rest of the demo on one page. So we were able to help step in, take care of the demolition cost of the debris that was left, and help them gain site control so that they could move forward with a redevelopment plan, which includes 5 contiguous parcels that will be developed into a mixed-use project, including 50 units of affordable housing and 4,000 square foot of commercial space right on their main street in downtown Falconer. They're using tax abatement, 15-year pilot, and housing trust fund and low-income and historic tax credits to help with that process. It's not totally funded yet, but the project is in process and hopefully moving forward. I know I'm going over. Another important aspect of our demo is we are getting into a little bit of economic development assistance. This is a project that we're working on with the IDA. It's along the river in Jamestown, and basically included a blighted warehouse and another developer property owner issue that we were able to step in, take site control, and it's going to turn out into a expanded marina development with public boardwalks and a boat launch and a park and docks leading to the thing. Two other partner projects that came out of our efforts, not came out of our efforts, but that we participated in. And that's really the key is that participation and that ability to leverage. So the STEL project, we provided about 8 sites for development, and the Salvation Army is creating a new domestic violence facility with the help of our assistance in gaining site control and helping to fund with the demolition. Some of our key partners, obviously the Attorney General's Office. Thank you for helping to create and sustain our land banks thus far. Center for Community Progress for being guru. HCR funding support, LISC funding, and Enterprise Community Partners for their funding and their technical assistance. Restore New York has in the past been a really good funding partner for our county, but I don't know where that program stands, obviously, in CFAs. So basically, lessons learned, foster collaboration, leverage your resources. You really have to understand your local municipalities' opportunities and challenges and build trust, not only with your local leaders, but also with your agency partners, and collaborate, leverage, and be creative. All right, thank you.